Are brand new to my space, hi, I am Stefania. I go by Stefania Maria on all socials. So if you want to give me a follow there. I'm really excited to have this conversation. If you are here live, let me know in the comments. If you are watching the replay, let me know that as well. Oh, this is a conversation that I've needed to have publicly for a while. And you know, this whole month is really going to be dedicated to me really speaking about this particular thing. So before I get started, there we go. I think the thing that you all need to know about me, and if you are brand new to following me, you probably never heard me say it. If you've been following me for a while, you definitely have. But 2022 is the year of the con. And what I mean by that is if you look at social media, if you look at TV, Netflix, if you look all around media, all we are seeing is conversations about, sorry, my computer's heating up here. Conversations about swindlers, right? The Tinder swindlers. If you caught my live stream a couple weeks ago, I spoke about manipulation and delusion based on the conversation from the Tinder swindler, more relating to dating, right? Like how people are allowing themselves to fall into delusion, allowing themselves to be manipulated. And then we go and look at Inventing Anna, right? That's the next thing that's on Netflix. And then we've got The Puppeteer, right? Someone posing as a federal agent, being somebody that they're not. Basically, my point is that this year we are going to see an array of data, of information, of stories, of statistics, of narratives centering on cons, centering on scams, centering on manipulation, deceit, and lies. That this is the year it's all going to fall apart. But here's the thing that I want to point out. The media that you are being fed is also feeding the narrative that you get to be victimized by it. Now, I'm not going to say being conned or manipulated doesn't hurt, okay? There's a difference between processing pain and hurt than being victimized. These are two different experiences, okay? Being victimized is like a sense of righteousness in the choice that you made, right? So, for example, I'm going to use the Tinder swindler as an example, but also Inventing Anna slightly, because I haven't done a full review of the series yet. But my belief system and the way that I teach manipulation is that manipulation ultimately was a willingness to walk away from your sovereignty, to walk away from your power and to give it away for free to someone who was willing to take it. Now, here's the thing, is we want to be victimized that like, oh my God, they're so evil. This person is willing to take my power. But the truth is, we all are. It is human nature to take what's free, right? We think about it all the time. If someone offers you a handout, if someone offers you help, if someone offers you anything and you don't have to pay for it, it doesn't cost you anything, we say yes, because we're receptive, open human beings. It is human nature, okay? It's totally fine that someone wanted to take something you were giving away. Now, imagine, let's take power out of the equation. You have a couch that you're like, I don't like this couch. I don't want this couch. This couch is too much responsibility. I don't like having to keep this couch clean. I don't like having to maintain it. I don't like to have to sweep under it. Nothing. I want to get rid of this couch. And you put the couch out on the street and then somebody comes up and they grab it. Being victimized by someone willing to take your power is the equivalent of you crying that someone took the couch you put on the street. And I know it sounds ridiculous and I know it sounds insane, but that is really what's happening. Is you're upset that someone was taking something that you were willing to give away. Now, the victimization, that's the part of you that will keep you from looking away at the part that actually gave it away, right? It's the being upset that someone took the couch rather than saying, wait a minute, why did I put it out on the street? Why did I give it away if I had so much emotional ties to that thing, if I had so much self-worth tied to that thing? Okay. Well, the truth is your power is a resource. Your energy is a resource. Your time is a resource. Your money is a resource. And so when we look at those things as resources, rather than I gave my power away, or I gave my money away, or I gave my time away, because that is naturally the conversation that happens in the world of manipulation. Con artists are very good at taking the money you are willing to give away. And the thing is you might be sitting here and be like, wait, Steph, con artists know how to get me to say yes. And you're right, they do. Because they know that you actually don't have the spine to stand for your sovereignty, to not give it away. That all they have to do is use a particular string of words, and that particular string of words has your spine completely collapse, and you will just give it away. So the conversation that I'm having here is not about how do we stop con artists from existing, because the truth is, I don't think we'll ever stop. And I am not of the world or the mindset or the belief system that we are meant to have everyone be perfect. I actually think part of being a human and being a part of the human experience is understanding that we have some love and light people, and we've got some dark and dirty people. We've got people who are willing to stand in their power, people who are willing to give it away. The key is, though, is understanding which game do you want to play in your life. And my guess is, if you are someone who has felt the experience of being manipulated or felt the fear of being manipulated, then likely it's because you've been sitting in a spot that's not quite embodied yet, right? You have this fear of being manipulated, so you're not actually quite open to anything that is for you. And you're constantly scrutinizing everything that comes your way because you have so much fear. Well, now your choices are rooted in fear, not in your sovereignty, right? Where are your choices being made from? Are your choices being made because you are truly in yourself, you understand your worth and your value, or are you discounting it? Now, discounting our value is something that is so ordinary in this world. It's something that we always do because that is what is simple. It is easier to discount ourselves than it is to stand for who we are. It is easier to lessen ourselves than it is to put up a boundary. It is easier to be the least common denominator than it is to be the highest version of who we are, okay? And so whether you're operating in fear of being manipulated or in fear of being manipulated again, neither one of those choices are actually being rooted in my choices are because I'm a sovereign being. I am fully powerful and I am capable of holding that power in myself. So to go back to the couch, this is my couch. I'm not going to get rid of my couch, and I'm going to do all of the things to maintain this couch, to keep this couch clean, to keep it healthy, to keep it moving around the room, to keep it cozy, to keep it being the place that I come home to. Okay, sounds silly, but your power is kind of like a couch. And so really, when we look at the year of the con, it's not about the con artist. It is about all of the versions of us that are willing to be conned. Okay, I've said it once and I'll say it 1,000 times. To be manipulated, you must be manipulatable. To be conned, you must be connable. So how do you become unconnable? How do you start having a spine in places where it could be easy to falter, easy to collapse into someone else taking care of you, someone else feeding you some story of a lifestyle that you wish you had? But the truth is, and here's really the reality that we're looking at. We look at the Tinder swindler, particularly the woman who gave the most amount of money. Again, I will never remember their names. The first woman, the one who was very, very clearly a love addict, right? You can actually point out all the points where she had a sovereign choice and she gave away her sovereignty, right? So sovereignty, I'm using tangentially with the word power. She had a choice to maintain who she was, to be right with who she was, and to say no when she deeply was a no. And instead she goes, okay, here's my power. I'm going to give that away to Simon Leviev because he has a fantasy that I really like. Not because I'm in my sovereign power and I have the full capacity to receive that fantasy as a reality. These are two different things, okay? Because and one of the things that, you know, as I work with fantasy, particularly in my work with enchantment, there is this like realm of like, you can't be just realistic. You have to want the life that you want and create the capacity to receive it, right? You have to have the capacity to receive the fantasy as reality. But if you don't have the capacity to receive it, then it's just a fantasy. Okay. So this first woman in Tinder Swindler had this fantasy of the life that Simon was promising. And so because she did not have the capacity, which would have meant standing in her power, being the kind of woman to create those kinds of experiences for herself, to understand herself deeper, she said, okay, I'll give him my power to create that for me, to create that world, that experience for me. This is so beautiful. This is so wonderful. And she loses herself there. And she loses herself because now when he asks for money because his enemies are chasing him, she goes, I can't afford that, but yeah, I'll go get a loan. I'll fuck up my credit score. I'll screw my chances at a life that I deserve because enemies are chasing you. But I love you. This is the whole thing, right? She gets lost in it. But it wasn't because of the fantasy he gave her. It was her willingness to buy it, right? It was her willingness to be conned. That's the crazy thing, right? And we can get stuck in the spot, but it's like you were willing to be conned there. And listen, I've been there. I have gone, whole months without getting paid. I have bought into a story that someone told me and kept running up against reality, right? Because this is the other thing too. If you have the full capacity standing in your power to create your fantasy into reality, reality serves you the truth every time. And so if you have this physical, this worldly experience, right? So going on fancy planes, eating fancy dinners, but then every couple weeks, your boyfriend's like, I need $50,000. That is a reality check, right? We are constantly being fed reality checks in the con that we refuse to deposit because we would rather be conned than face the truth that we conned ourselves. That we were willing to gaslight and manipulate our deepest truth to serve something mental, to serve an idea of our lives and how it was going to play out. And so really, the longest con to ever exist is the one that has been running inside of you. The one that has said, you know what? I'm willing to walk away from my power and I want to be victimized by the person who willingly takes it because I've offered it for free. And the problem being is now you've created the fear that you will be conned. You've now created the fear to avoid being conned. And now all of your decisions are based on whether or not you'll be conned. You've just taken infinite possibilities of a life, now limited it because now you have that fear filtering everything. I want to tell you there's a different way. There's a totally different way of operating. And this is something we're going to be exploring in Vault this month with The Longest Con. Is how do you honor those experiences of like, wow, I really abandoned myself there. And say, but I'm not going to make my choices because I abandoned myself before. Because this is the thing, right? Is our minds can only be in the past or the future. It has a really hard time being present. But our bodies can't be in the past or the future. They can only be in the now. So it's not about, I was conned once, so let me avoid that experience again. It is, okay, I understand. I have knowledge now. What am I going to do right now? In this present moment, what feels true for me? What experience am I a yes to? Because listen, some of you guys are going to be a yes to getting conned because you want to learn it. You want to understand it. You want to be able to navigate it with some discernment. And you might have really low stakes when you say yes to a con like that. And I would argue that the woman who got swindled by the Tinder swindler, that's not the first time they got swindled. That is just the biggest reality check they were delivered and forced to deposit. But swindling can have lower stakes, right? It can be the guy in a market in Europe, right? Do you have enough solidness and rootedness in your own power that you become unconnable? That you cannot be swindled because you're operating in present moment truth and reality within yourself. Because at any moment in time, you can change your mind about an experience. You can change your mind as much as your mind changes. You can say, this isn't for me anymore. Hey, listen, I really thought you were going to be somebody who was going to financially take care of me. And that is a priority for me, obviously, for these women and Tinder swindler. It's clear that you can't do that because you have all of these situations. I'm a no to giving you $50,000. So until you get your financial situation and security settled, I'm done. Right? That's a sovereign way of responding to a guy asking for $50,000 because he has some enemies after, right? But I want to switch the conversation a little bit because it's not just in dating, okay? It shows up in our friendships. And it just so happens that when we look at con artists, when we look at scammers, when we look at the Nigerian princes who need to come to America, no offense to anyone in Nigeria, this was just a really great 90s scam, is that they tend to center around money, right? Because that is the most obvious. And it's only because we live in a world that values money. The more money you have, the more successful you are, the more successful you are, the more attention you get. The more attention you get, well, you're a celebrity. And celebrities are the epitome of Western idolization, right? So it's not just money, though. You can be swindled out of your time, and you can be swindled out of your power. And I want you guys to see the full balance of all of that. You are constantly being swindled out of your time because you'll sit there on social media. And I did this last night, right? I was in bed and I was like, oh, I'm going to read a book. I just bought this new book. It's called Awakening Artemis. And I was like, oh, this sounds so good. And I sat there on my phone. I was like, okay, I should turn this off and read my book now. And I just kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling until I was like, it is midnight. I need to go to bed. I can't read the book anymore. And if you don't think that means that I wasn't swindled out of my time, you've got another thing coming. Of course I was swindled because I was willing to be. I was not willing to stand for the thing that I actually wanted to do, which was to read this new book that I got. I was not willing to have a spine within myself to change my behaviors, to change the situation, to shift the situation. I conned myself out of my own time. I conned myself out of not investing in the thing that would have brought me a higher return. And I put it into a dead deposit. Social media scrolling, doomsday scrolling, right? It doesn't do anything. We are constantly being swindled out of our time, but it's not about, oh, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, those are evil. They're just taking up everyone's time. It's like, okay, but like what part of you didn't want to have a spine here? What part of you didn't want to be sovereign, have the ultimate and supreme authority over you and your life against a social media platform? It is just a social media platform, right? It's actually not that powerful. But it's when we decide, oh, I'm going to give it my power so I can be victimized by it, then now we're just screwed, right? We're totally screwed. And so the thing that I want to point to is that all of these things outside of you that you believe can manipulate you, con you, swindle you, scam you, trick you, deceive you, they can only be that ability only exists if you gave your power away. It does not exist before that. Because would you be able to be swindled if you just told the guy no? Oh, and you might get aggressive and violent. That's a whole different conversation that we can have. But is it possible for you to be manipulated if you just trust your no? If you trust that gut instinct, if you trust that inner knowing, and maybe even go a couple layers deeper into the body and being like, what about this situation am I a no to? And just be able to declare it. Because I'll tell you, the truth is, in the Tinder swindler, the women that were attracted to him were attracted to the lifestyle. They weren't attracted to him. This is the guy, really? That makes you feel safe? Okay. But they were attracted to the lifestyle. But it is deemed morally incorrect to say, I want the lifestyle, not the man. If you want the lifestyle, you can go have the lifestyle. You can. You can totally do it. But then she'd have to own her desire for that, right? And owning her desire for that would also mean saying no to him when the reality of who he is doesn't validate that desire. So I'll give you guys kind of a personal example just to kind of share this. So a couple weeks ago, months ago, I don't know, I was talking to my dad just about dating apps and in general, because he had just watched the Tinder Swindler and he was like, what is this? And the conversation kind of evolved where I was explaining, I was like, there is a certain level of like your lifestyles do have to kind of align. So for example, if I say I love road trips, I don't just mean we drive to the lake. I drive 22,000 kilometers through the US for 2.5, 3 months because I want to, not because of anything else. Like I constantly do very big road trips. It's my favorite thing to do. I love being on the highway, singing songs, listen to podcasts. Like I love it. Now imagine if I meet a guy who's like, I love road trips. But then like every time I ask him to drive somewhere, he's like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can get into the spot where it's like, I got tricked. Here was this man who said he loved the same things I loved and he doesn't. Oh my God, now I'm stuck. Total victimization, right? I'm now giving him my power because I am unwilling to stand in my sovereign rightness, back myself, be in myself, have a spine and say, you know what? I communicated right from the get-go that road trips were really important to me. It's very clear that they're not important to you and that I'm a hard no to being with someone who can't do that. So had a great time, appreciate it. But I'm gonna have to end this here. It's a tough stance. But really, sovereignty is about being the supreme and ultimate authority over your life. You can't have that be questioned. And the only way it can be questioned is when you question it yourself. And it's a spot of where I could have been like, oh, but he's so sweet. We have fun in all of these other ways, but denying the thing that I was really clear on. And in fact, this has actually showed up in other relationships where like, sex is really important to me. And then all of a sudden the guy I'm dating wants to go celibate. Okay, cool. We're broken up now. But what? Sex shouldn't be the most important thing to you. Yeah, but it is, right? It shouldn't be. I get it. From your perspective, sex should not be important to me, but it is for me. And so if you're not having sex for an undefined, undisclosed amount of time, and I know that this is important to me, then we're breaking up, right? Sovereign. At the end of my life, it's just going to be me in the box. So why would I allow myself to be victim to someone else, to allow someone power over me, over my life? And the thing is here is like, you can both be powerful tangentially, but it's the moment that you give your power away that you open yourself up to manipulation. That giving your power away is what allows you to be CONNABLE. And so on March 16th, we are going to look at all the places where you actually feel more comfortable being CONNABLE. And what would the embodiment be in those experiences if you weren't? Because the truth is you don't have the muscle memory around it. You don't, right? I don't have a lot of muscle memory around certain areas. If I'm working for someone and they tell me that my paycheck's late, I don't have a lot of muscle memory in my body to say, okay, I won't be working until you pay me. See, the muscle memory for me is to just be like, okay, yeah, I'll get paid in 2 weeks. No big deal. That's the muscle memory in me. And so I want to encourage you guys to not beat yourselves up because you've been manipulated, because you were willingly walking away from your sovereignty, because you are totally accepting being CONNABLE. I don't want you to feel shame about that. It's just muscle memory. You learned a bad behavior, you got to unlearn it. But unlearning is not an intellectual thing. It is a physical experience. It is, okay, I know better now. Not that I intellectually understand it, but like I can physically allow myself to do something different. Right? Like it takes some practice. And so by going into, these are the experiences of where it actually feels really easy for me to like be powerless here, to let myself just be like, okay, this person's got it. What are we foregoing? What is the actual cost of being powerful and letting ourselves become powerless, what does that cost us? And what would we have to do to like physically feel in our bodies to know how valuable we are? To not let our innate worth be so discounted? And what would we have to be feeling to be able to shift that experience? To be able to say, you know what, I hear you. And I feel comfortable saying no to you now. And I know this is very like kind of esoteric or a little bit obscure, but I want you to just kind of feel what I'm saying here. What would you have to be feeling in your body to not follow the muscle memory that would allow you to be CONNABLE is really the question. And let's create that experience in your body so at least you know what it feels like. So that the next time you're put in a situation where giving your power away feels super bloody easy, you at least have a single memory of what it looks like to be in your power, what it feels like to be in your power to exercise your right to be unconnable. Because being unconnable is a sovereign right, but you must be sovereign to exercise it. So like I said, this is going to be a conversation we go into inside of Vault this month. It's my monthly 2.5-hour embodiment journey where we do a workshop side of it so we can totally understand things, but then also the embodiment side so we can move energy and actually feel it flush through us. So we're not just holding on to identities that we are CONNABLE or identities of where we must avoid being CONNABLE. You don't have to avoid it. You just opt out of that game entirely and say, well, I'm just only going to make sovereign choices. So we're going to explore all of that. And if this is a conversation that you're excited to have, nervous to have, you have any sensation around having, then I encourage you to join us, because truly, if you were sensationless around being conned, manipulated, then you're already probably sovereign in those areas, that there are no places where you're willing to give away your power. But if there is even a fraction of you, this is, you know what, in this particular scenario, I give my power away a lot. And it's really easy. And I don't have the muscle memory around staying in my power in those scenarios. Because here's the thing. This is not about controlling life. This is about navigating life powerfully. Being able to be in rooms where manipulation could take place and being the one that they can't manipulate. Because it's not possible. And see, the part of you that even thinks that it is the part of you that is willing to give your power away. But not for long. Not for long. So I'm going to post a link in the bio or in the comments below for you to join us. My inbox is also open if you have questions or thoughts, or you can't even make this month. Just send me a message and I'm happy to chat with you. I think that this conversation, though, is going to be a bigger one this year. It is the year of the con. And if you are not getting yourself into a position where you know you are just deeply unconnable because you are unwilling to con yourself into situations where you give your resources away. It's not just about power. It is about giving your money away, your time away, your energy away. You do it to yourself first. And so if you can get yourself into a position where that never takes place, then the only thing possible is deeply powerful and deeply connected conversations with others, whether or not you know their intentions, because you'll never know people's intentions clearly. And so rather than controlling their intentions, is there a way that we can just simply be in response to life as it is, not as our ideal wishes it was? Okay, I'd love to know in the comments what you're leaving here with, what was a key takeaway, and even any questions so I can respond to them either maybe in another video or in the comment section at all. Thank you so much for watching so far. I am so excited for this conversation. I don't often get to talk about the dirty, gritty sides of the world and life. So this is an important one. You can be powerful or you can be powerless. And ultimately, I want an innately wealthy world. And so that means that you are having a full bank account, full life, full power. Awesome. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.